Hey everyone, it's good to see you guys. Jared, Transformational Coaching, Action is Transformation. In this video, we're going to get into why it's important to have relationship goals. For the first time in my life, probably about, only 2 years ago, I first started setting relationship goals. And I would never thought I'd be the person who actually sets goals around relationship. And now that I've done this, I realize how important it can be and how useful it can be to fulfillment, but also just to enjoying life more. So in this video, I'm going to share with you why it's important to set goals around your relationships, what that actually looks like, and then just share with you some of the goals that I've set in the past around my own relationships and where I've come up short and also where I've done just fine and made it. I think it's really important to set relationship goals up because relationships are what we find as human beings most satisfying. I always cite this study. It's one of my favorite studies of all time. It's done by Harvard. It was a 75-year plus study across the board. Everyone who was rich, who was poor, they studied people for over 75 years. And at every life stage, by the end of it all, every single person said that relationship and feeling a part of a social community was most important in terms of feeling satisfied and fulfilled by life. So we really want to be clear about what we want from our relationships, the quality of those relationships, and what they give to us. When we get really clear about the quality of our relationships and what we want out of a relationship, you'll see that you'll be more fulfilled naturally because relationships are absolutely integral to living a healthy human life and living an emotionally healthy life. It's the most important facet. In the West, we forget about that. I used to forget about it, and sometimes I still do. Now I'm pretty good about it. I call my sisters. I call my mom usually 3 times a week. Like I'm really good about checking in with my family. But in the past, I never was. And one of the biggest reasons why I made that shift in my own life was because I saw how important relationship was. There's a study. I'm definitely more of an intellectual person. I have that deep emotional side, but the intellect is still there. And I remember just thinking to myself after reading this study being like, wow, that's so important. Relationship is so integral. And really being away from my family when I was in Afghanistan twice, that really showed me the importance of having healthy, quality relationships around. So it's really important for us to remember that no matter what we're doing in the world, no matter what's going on, no matter how many goals we set financially, no matter how many goals we might set for our career or education, whatever it may be, it's important to remember to set relationship goals because that's what's going to make your heart happy. That's what's going to allow you to really enjoy and get the full juice and zest out of life is those relationships. So let's get into this a little bit deeper. What's the most important thing that I think of when it comes to relationships? Well, from the people that I've coached, and I've coached over 1,000 people at this point in my career, not just in life coaching, but also in transformative coaching, relationship coaching, really transforming any aspect of our being. And what I found time and time again, because sometimes I'll interview my clients afterwards, sometimes I'll just get their perspectives and I'll be able to see their perspectives and share mine as well. What I found is that quality is always more important than quantity every single time. Some individuals try to collect things, like some people try to collect a lot of money to make themselves feel good. Some people try to collect relationships to make themselves feel good. So there's all these different types of things that we try to collect as human beings. But ultimately, quality over quantity is most important. Our heart doesn't know quantity. I love this. The mind knows quantity, but the heart doesn't know quantity. The heart only knows quality. And so if you want to have more of a satisfying connection with the world, with yourself, with your community, with the people around you, ask yourself, what are those qualities that I really value in myself? But what are those qualities that I value in others? And it's really important to have a stable sense of self, or at least an understanding of a sense of self, in order to have valuable relationships. There's this direct correlation. They found all the research supports this. There's this direct correlation between knowing who we are and feeling who we are and having a stable sense of self and having healthy emotional relationships. Anytime a person tells me that they have a lot of different relationships, I always I start going into that more, and I ask myself, what's their sense of self? How stable is it? And then I go into it a little bit deeper. When I look back at my life, used to have so many friends, but I also didn't have too much of a stable sense of self or a solid identity. And that was why I had so many friends, because I was trying to understand myself through connecting with all other different types of people. And that's completely normal when you're growing up. However, eventually we should get to a point where we've found out those things that we like, those things that we don't like, those qualities that we admire and respect in us, but also those qualities that we admire and respect in others. And once we find that, then that's where we form healthy relationships around friendships, romantic relationships, business partnerships, around all those key aspects. So quality over quantity. And that's really simple, but I just love it. It comes down to the heart. That's all it is. The heart only knows quality. The heart doesn't know quantity. And guys, if you have any questions as we go throughout this, please feel free to put them in the comment section. I'd love to hear your guys' questions. I'd like to go deeper into this. Number 2 is respect and admiration. Respect and admiration is one of the most important facets, emotional facets, that you can have in your relationships in order to build longevitous and sustainable relationships. So for me, I'm always thinking of different ways that I can embody more respect and admiration for people in my life. Not only for people in my life, but for myself as well too. Respect and admiration, when we set goals for that, to experience respect and admiration in all of our relationships, you'll see the quality of your life will go up so much more. It'll come up super, super high. Respect and admiration is the foundation of most relationships, healthy, longevitous relationships. People talk about trust. Trust is very important in relationship, but respect and admiration, I would say that's the most important. And all the research supports this. If you read any of the books by John Gottman, who's been doing decades-long research on romantic relationship and human relationship, he can predict breakup just by physiological response of people within 10 minutes to a 91% accuracy rate. And all of his research says that respect and admiration are the key qualities that we need to have in relationship in order to feel in order to feel connected, in order to have something longevitous. So respect and admiration is a goal that I set in all of my relationships, whether it's with my little sister, whether it's with my mom, whether it's with a friend. If I see respect or admiration starting to fall, then I know either I'm doing something wrong, or I know that that other person is doing something that I don't vibe with or I don't value. So it's really important to ask ourselves, what is it that we respect and admire in ourselves, but also what is it that we respect and admire in other people, and really emphasize that. Beautiful. Let's get to the last one here. Number 3, constantly changing and reevaluating how we see our partner. Human beings have the capability, not everyone does this, but we all have the capability to constantly grow. We all have the capability to transform and change. And when we grow, when we transform, when we change, what starts happening is our relationships, the people in our life, start to see that. And sometimes it might scare them. Sometimes they might be concerned or worried for us. Say, man, you're not the same person I used to know. It's normal for us to grow. But I see a lot of families. I've coached a number of individuals around this. I was just talking to one client the other day where they were sharing with me their struggles around letting go of the old self. And so I asked them, I said, well, why is it hard to let go of your old self? And they said, because my family still expects me to be this person who I no longer am. And then I asked her, I said, well, do you live into that? And she said, yeah, kind of. And then I said, you need to set new standards for the relationship. If you're going through a transformation process and you are changing as an individual, don't be afraid to ask the people in your life. Don't be afraid to tell them, hey, look, guys, I'm changing. I'm transforming. There's this new version of me that I'm becoming. And I just want to let you guys know. So when you see me change, you don't get freaked out or you become confused on how to react. Most families have a really hard time accepting that you can change and that you can grow. I've seen this time and time again in my own family and in my own life, but also in the lives of others. So recognize that in your relationships, people are going to change. They're going to evolve. They're going to grow. And if you're still looking at your friends, your family members as these static beings who won't grow or who won't evolve or transform, and some people won't, a lot of people won't, but if you're still looking at them in that way, ask yourself, how can I see them anew? You know, one of the things that I love about coaching is every single week, I look at the person as a completely blank slate. It was something that I really learned a lot from Michael Neal, my own mentor, one of my mentors. We can always look at individuals in a whole new light. And one of the great things about transformation and just life itself is we always have an opportunity for a whole new version of us to come through. And there's always whole new versions of us that want to come through. And that's okay. There's parts of us that want to stay the same. And there's parts of us that want to grow and evolve. There's foundations that we build, those permanent parts of our personality or soul. And then there's these other parts of us that want to grow and change. And so if you're in relationships, which everyone who's watching this, it has to be in some sort of relationship, whether it's familial, whether it's social, whether it's professional, whatever it may be, don't be afraid to tell the people in your environment, those close individuals in your life, don't be afraid to tell them and say, hey, look, I'm changing. I just want you to know this is the person that I'm growing into. So when you see me shift and change, don't be worried. It's okay. I'm just growing into something. I'm just growing into someone else. You're going to see me shift and grow in a way that you might not have anticipated. And that's okay. When we allow people to know that we're changing and that we're growing into something that they've never seen before, it gives them the ability to see us in a whole new light. I wish I had been given that advice years ago. It would have saved so much frustration and heartache for me and my family. So when you're changing and you're growing and you have people in your life who still see the old version of you, don't be afraid to ask them to see you in this new person that you're growing into. And you may not know who you're growing into, and that's okay. If you don't know who you're growing into, then just share with them, hey, I just want you guys to know I'm changing and I'm growing into something that is completely different. And I don't know who it is. I don't know what's happening. It's a little scary, but I just would like for you guys to at least be aware of this. Relationships, who we are as individuals is created by our relationships. Who we are as individuals is created by our connections. And so when we change and when we grow, it's important to recognize and communicate to our closest family members, our friends, that we are changing, that we are growing into something that they may not recognize. And that gives them the freedom to try something new as well, too. When I look back at all the friends that I had in middle school and high school, I'm not friends with any of them anymore. They've all changed. Some of them died. Some of them didn't make it as far as I did. Actually, a lot of them died. Now that I look back on it, I'm going to pat myself on the back for that one. So it's important. It's important to honor the new being who's coming through within you, but then also to ask people to recognize that. And you can use this with your partners as well, too. Let's say you're in a close relationship. I was talking to one of my clients the other day. Her husband is changing into someone that she didn't anticipate, and she was really nervous and scared. And so she was sharing with me all these worries and these insecurities that were coming up for her. And I just explained to her, I said, who's the man that your husband is changing into? Because that's all that's happening. He's just growing into someone different. And what about that is scary for you? And she didn't realize that he was actually changing. She still wanted to hold on to this old perception of him that wasn't true. So it's okay to let go of our old perceptions that we have of people. Human beings are always changing. There's always newer, higher versions of us trying to come through if we allow them. So don't be worried. Don't be afraid to ask your partner to see you into the person to who you're becoming. And don't be afraid to see your partner and the people who are close in your life as completely new human beings, as completely new blank slates. When you do that, they will feel a sense of freedom as well, too. Beautiful. Thanks so much for joining me, you guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to share them. I'll take about 2 minutes out for questions. If you guys like what you see here, please share with any family or friends. Also, I'm doing an interview with Renee Slansky and Laura. That's going to happen in about 3.5 hours from now. So 9 p.m. MST time, 11 p.m. EST time. It's a little late, but it's because we're all in different parts of the globe. So join us for that interview. We'd love to have you be a part of it. Renee's a relationship coach over on the other side of the pond. So I'm really excited to get her understanding of relationships and her experience and bring that value to the community. Also, guys, if you haven't yet, please sign up for Laura and I's Sacred Relationship Series. It's right down there below in the YouTube description box. We're doing all these interviews with these major relationship coaches, industry key players. We're doing live coaching. So if you want to check that out, It's in the description box below. So I'm going to go to some comments here now. I'm going to go to Bonnie's comment. Bonnie says, it's scary for them. It's taken 3 years for them to see. Now they're transforming by just seeing where I came from. Yeah. One of the things that I realize is it's really scary it's really scary for people to see who we're becoming because they just don't know how to react to it. Most human beings, and especially in relationship, they're looking at the subtle cues. They're looking at the other person. Should I act this way? Should I act this way? What do I need to? They're looking to see how they can adjust to that other person. And that's completely normal to do in relationship. However, whenever we're changing and whenever we're transforming, people might see that. Our closest family members might see that, and they might get scared. And the only reason why they're getting scared is because it's a whole new version of you, and they don't know how to adapt to the new you that's coming out. And so it's perfectly okay for them to be scared. The best thing that you can do if you're changing and your partner, your family, if they're nervous, the best thing that you can do is just say, hey, look, guys, I know that I'm changing. I know that you might not recognize who I am. And honestly, I'm not recognizing who I am. I know I'm just changing, and I would love to have you guys support and love through the process if that's possible. And some people, they'll be able to get on board, and other people won't. And the people who will be able to get on board will stay in your life, and the people who won't will naturally fall away until they can get up to a higher level with you. So don't be afraid to let go of relationships that no longer serve you, and don't be afraid to ask for people to recognize the new version of you that's coming through. It's really important to do this. Whenever we go through transformation, not everyone can hang with it. And if your family's going to feel nervous, your partners are going to feel nervous, people are going to feel worried when this new version of you starts coming out. And it's just because they don't know how to relate to it yet, or they may not understand it. Beautiful. I'm going to go to Bonnie's comment here. Bonnie says, some are stuck in their own past, and it's hard for them to see that. Yes, some people are still stuck in the past version of you. Some people are still trying to see you through the eyes of how they used to see you. Some of us are still trying to fit into old caricatures of who we used to be. Some of us are still wishing that we could be that person that we were in the past and still living in the past instead of embracing the next level of being that wants to come through us. I see this all the time. Sometimes, I was coaching an individual the other day, and they just kept reminiscing about the past and who they used to be. And I told them, I finally asked them the question. I said, are you in love with the idea of who you used to be? And they stepped back for a minute, and they realized they were in love with who they used to be. But part of growing and part of life is growing into these newer versions of who we really are, growing into these new updated versions. So don't be afraid to ask for people. Don't be afraid to ask for people's help to see you as the person who you're growing into. You can let go of the old versions of you that no longer serve you. And if you're still seeing yourself as some idea or some person, or you still have some conception of who you are and you miss that person who you used to be, it's time to move on. It's time to either, one, create a new version of yourself that you want to live into, or two, it's time to just accept who you are in this moment from a present moment. It's just this new version of you. Does that make sense, you guys? Beautiful. Yeah. Bonnie says, I'm coaching one that this thought, she's stuck and scared of her thoughts. Yeah, a lot of people are scared of their own thoughts, and that's okay. Thoughts can be scary sometimes, but they're just thoughts. That's it. Thanks so much for joining me, you guys. If you like what you've seen here, please share, please subscribe if you haven't. I'd love for this work to go out more into the world. That's all I got for this time. Check out the interview that we're doing this tonight in about 3.5 hours with Renee. Laura and I will be doing that. She's a relationship coach. That's all I have for this time. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you guys next time. Bye for now.